And just remind us, what is target again? So what is the target inflation rate and which inflation are they looking for? Underlying inflation, stripped out what?
Yeah, the RBA focus on inflation between 2 and 3% in annual terms.
Yep.
And they strip out, they call it the underlying rate, they strip out things that aren't really driven by a hot economy or a weak economy. So the one that we often see is tobacco. You know, we know that the price of cigs has gone up dramatically because of excise. Now, they're not going to hike because the government put a big excise tax on cigarettes. Similarly with petrol, that'll be taken out, even though you and I are paying it. It's not really driven by the Australian economy running hot. It's a geopolitical issue. It's Russia, Ukraine. It's the Middle East not pumping out enough oil at the moment. So it's a global issue. And for the RBA to hike rates just because of a problem in Ukraine, and obvious and a really bad one, of course, you know, would be to dampen our economy for something that is outside its control.
So just so it's clear, then it's what we're saying here, what you're saying more importantly, they take the headline inflation number that the Australian Bureau of Statistics prints at the end of April and at the end of July, and what they do is they strip out of it any what they consider to be short-term events or things that create short-term spikes. Correct. So that they can have a better long or medium-term view on where inflation really is.
Correct. And another classic example, I remember this, and you probably remember it too, Mark, when we had, I think it was Cyclone Yazi, blew away all those banana crops up in Queensland about 10 years ago, if I remember correctly. There were no bananas. So the price of bananas went from $3 a kilo to $15 or $20 a kilo. Yep. That one change in bananas added about 1% to the CPI, to inflation. And so the RBA said, look, those bananas will grow back and the price will come down in 6 months' time. And so they didn't hike interest rates because of a banana shortage. And they do that for other items. So we mentioned petrol and tobacco, but occasionally there can be these strange things that happen in the inflation reading. One, in fact, in the middle of COVID was when the government made childcare free. Remember we had about that 6-month period where childcare was free? That's an important part of the inflation number. So inflation actually went to minus 0.3%. Now, they're not going to cut because of that because it wasn't a permanent change in the inflation momentum of the economy. So they strip them out, they get this core or underlying measure of inflation, and they adjust interest rates based on that.